Hey everybody. Last week I posted a video about what I learned during my first year as a YouTuber, and I received a comment wishing that the video was longer and included more specifics about what I've learned. So in this video, I'll talk about the analytics, the importance of the titles, thumbnails, and timing of your videos. And stick around until the end for the change that I've recently implemented, which has improved my approach for the better. Let me take a moment to introduce myself in case you're new to the channel. I'm Jesse, and I'm a podcast editor, engineer, and coach. I create videos about podcast editing, content creation, and the tools we use in doing so. Now, let's get back to the video. First, I want to say that it's too easy to get caught up in chasing numbers. I look at analytics as tools that help me judge what's working and what isn't. Now that I've got a year's worth of data, I have a better understanding of what content my audience wants and doesn't want. I'll start with the traffic source stats because they'll tell me how people are finding my videos. If we look at this screenshot, we see that about 30% of my watch time comes from YouTube's browse features, which includes the home screen, subscription feed, and other YouTube browse features. My click-through rate is 4.3%, which it's not great, but it's not terrible either. What this tells me is that while I'm getting most of my watch time and a quarter of my views from the browse feature, my thumbnails could probably be improved to increase the click-through rate. I don't focus on the overall click-through rate, though. I focus on the click-through rates for individual videos or for the overall traffic sources. I can see that I get more of my views from the YouTube search function, with 27.4% of my views and 23.2% of my watch time, but the click-through rate is 11.5%. This tells me that I'm doing a pretty good job with the titles, and they're showing up when people search for topics related to my videos. And it also tells me that the thumbnails are good enough to get the viewer to click on them. The other thing that stands out to me is that 23.3% of my views and 19.2% of my watch time comes from external sources. This is really any place where the video can be viewed outside of YouTube. So embedding onto social media, or putting it on my website, or people sharing it on social media. There's a ton of ways that the traffic comes from external sources. Overall, by looking at these numbers, I saw that I needed to improve my thumbnail game. This part is a work in process, and I'm currently learning how to use Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer because I feel that designing in Apple's Keynote is becoming a limiting factor. Let's take a look at one of my bad thumbnails. It has our logo and plain text asking, "What is Tansy Astor Academy?" on a dark green background. Like anyone is going to know who we are. No one would be searching for us on YouTube at that point in time, and probably nobody's searching for Tansy Astor Academy on YouTube now. But looking back at this is a lazy and no effort was put into it thumbnail. And going back to my last video, remember how I talked about we can't view the thumbnail as just an afterthought? This shows why. Here's one of my newer thumbnails. It's still probably not the greatest and could probably be made better, but I'm just not a great designer, though I am trying to improve. But this thumbnail, it's bright, it has Michael's face, and the text lets people know what they'll be learning by watching this video. And that's the main thing I've picked up so far about thumbnail creation. You don't want it to be too busy. There shouldn't be more than like 2 or 3 elements in it. Thumbnails with people on them tend to do better than those that don't. Bright colors tend to perform better than darker colors. And high contrast usually works pretty well too. The other thing to consider is that many people will be seeing these thumbnails on their phones. So don't make things too small. The entire purpose of the thumbnail is to get the person to click on your video. So use text and images to create interest and use contrast to help catch their eye. If you're finding this video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of my content. Now, I want to look at how well each video has performed to see what people are watching and what they aren't. YouTube only shows the top 50 videos in their dashboard, so I've had to download the basic data for all my videos so I can go a little more granular. I've removed a couple of videos that I've unpublished at some point because there was an error or something, or just some other reason for removing it from the channel. And that's another tip. Don't delete videos that have any views, because along with the views, you will lose all of the data that YouTube generated from those videos and who watched it. And that data is used by YouTube or by the algorithm to help target your content. So that is a bit of a loss. So you can unpublish videos, and that's going to be preferable over deleting them. But looking at the top of this chart, I can see that of my top 15 videos, 12 are about software and equipment, and they're either reviews or comparisons. The other 3 are about editing. And if I look at all of my videos that are under 100 views, there are 34. So roughly 1 out of 3 of my videos don't have much of an audience. Out of those 34, only 7 of them were made in 2024. So that tells me there's something lacking in my earlier videos. I know the video quality wasn't great, the titles weren't great, the thumbnails weren't good, and it was content that most people really didn't seem to be interested in. Or, yeah, I did a poor job with the title. But it's a learning lesson. I was new at it. So I'm learning from that now. But let's dive a bit deeper into these videos. The sad realization is that the content I've been creating for my target audience wasn't converting. And more importantly, I've come to realize that the audience that has found me isn't interested in running a podcast editing business. They are more interested in content creation, and I use that term to include all aspects of content creation. That's recording, editing, equipment, software, all of that. And I'm currently debating whether or not I should continue to create video content around the topic of running a podcast editing or really any other kind of creative services-based business. Right now, I'm thinking I'll create a new channel for that sort of content because it's just not performing well here because it's just for a different audience. And this really does go back to the idea of the importance of understanding your audience and the YouTube algorithm. The more focused your content is, the easier it will be for the algorithm to push you to the right people. While my original target was podcast editors, a different audience has found me. The more I focus my content around content creation, equipment, and software, the more I should see growth. And when I create videos about running a creative services business, it could turn away some of my existing viewers because they aren't interested in that kind of content. The channels that seem to struggle to grow are the ones that are too scattered in their content. And it's the same thing we see with podcasts. Someone asks, how do I grow my show? I'll ask them, what is your show about? They respond with something like, It's about people sharing stories from their lives. Okay, that's great, but it's so broad that it will be difficult to market. It's the same thing with YouTube. When you just create random stuff, the algorithm is going to struggle to help you. It's not going to know who to put your content in front of because it's so scattered. When we think about titles, we need to think about SEO and what our audience is likely searching for in order to find this video. The title should be concise and it should open a curiosity loop with the viewer. Let's look at the titles for my top 3 performing videos. Supertone Shift, voice changing app, live streams, Twitch, Discord, VR chat, and others. Isotope Via, how does it compare with Clear, DX Revive, and VoiceX? Isotope RX11, dialogue isolate compared to Supertone Clear, DX Revive Pro, and VoiceX. All 3 are about software products, and that is the first thing in the title, followed by why someone might be interested in the video or the product. In the first example, Supertone Shift was a new product, so not everyone would be aware of it. So I added voice changing app and listed some platforms where one might use this type of software. The other 2 examples are comparison videos, and I mentioned that in the title and what the product is being compared to. So let's take a look at the bottom 3 titles. The people behind Tansy Astor Academy, Tara Kelly, brand storyteller for Rebels with a Cause. Do you have a plan B for the podcast editing tools you use? Michael Jerry on finding his groove as a podcast editor. Looking at these, it's no wonder why they performed poorly. None of it is content that anyone would be realistically searching for on YouTube. Some might come up with random keywords, but for the most part, it's not going to show up. Timing can be crucial for some channels or some types of videos, but not so much for others. Some of my highest performing videos were software because I could crank out a video on release day or the next day. The videos aren't as good or detailed as the people who are given the product or software ahead of time to do an embargo video, but I don't have the kind of clout to get stuff ahead of time, so I have to do what I can to get it out quickly. But it makes sense, though, if you think about it. When something new is released, people are interested in it and they want to see it in action and get feedback from others who've already been able to use it. It helps them decide if it's worth spending their money on or not. A recent example of that is the new Rodecaster video. It seemed really interesting, but I was able to quickly decide that it's probably not right for me, at least the way it is right now. Its limitation to 1080 and just the cost of it are the 2 biggest reasons. But I was able to figure that out pretty quickly by watching a couple of videos when it was released. And that brings me to my best piece of advice, which is to decide on a title and finalize your thumbnail before you record your video. This ensures that you deliver what you promise and you can make sure that you are on point. When I started looking at where I could improve my channel, this was one of the things I kept seeing. So I tried it and I've started doing this more recently. I feel it's helped me, especially when it comes to scripting out the video. My process right now is to decide on a working title, build the thumbnail, and then start scripting. Before this, I would simply script, record, edit, and then when I was done, I'd create a title and thumbnail, then post. But the new method seems to be helping. It's been helping me really focus the script, like I said, to make sure that I'm staying on point and I'm delivering everything I'm promising in the title and the thumbnail. So what about you? What have you learned from your experience on YouTube? What do you or did you struggle with? Let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to see what I bought last year that's helped improve my audio and video quality, check out this video over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.